They tell you to speak up, to explain yourself, to clear your name. But Machiavelli would laugh at that advice, because the moment you defend yourself, you've already surrendered power. Power isn't lost through defeat. It's lost through reaction. When you rush to justify yourself, you confess that their opinion matters more than your reality. You trade authority for approval. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The strong do not defend, they define. They don't explain their actions, they make others explain themselves. Silence in the hands of a disciplined man is not weakness. It's a weapon. Think about it. The most respected people you know rarely argue for their worth. Their presence alone demands respect. Their calm unnerves their critics. Their lack of defense creates mystery, and mystery commands power. In this video, you'll learn the dark psychological trick Machiavelli used to flip power instantly. How not defending yourself turns attack into advantage, and accusation into control. Because the truth is simple. Every time you defend yourself, you lower your value. Every time you stay composed, you raise it. And once you master this rule, no one will ever have power over you again. From childhood, we're trained to explain ourselves. Why did you do that? Say you're sorry. Make them understand your side. And so we grow into men who believe that if we can just explain well enough, people will see our truth. But Machiavelli knew that belief is a trap. When you justify yourself, you signal that someone else's judgment has authority over you. You enter their frame, and inside their frame, you can only lose. Watch what happens in any argument, especially with women, colleagues, or critics. The moment you start defending, you're no longer equal. You've become a defendant in their court. The more passionately you speak, the more desperate you appear. Every word you say sounds like proof that they've struck a nerve. Society calls this honesty. Machiavelli called it weakness. He observed that powerful men never fight for validation. They let accusations die in silence, because silence forces the accuser to fill the void, and in that void, they expose themselves. You see, people don't seek the truth when they attack you. They seek control. They want to pull you into their emotional gravity, to make you dance to their rhythm. The instant you explain, you've joined their performance as the submissive character. Think of the kings, generals, and CEOs who never argue with critics. They don't because they know a higher rule. The one who explains less commands more. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must be feared more than he is loved, not through cruelty, but through composure. When others expect panic and get calm, they feel your dominance. So the myth of justification isn't about logic. It's about perception. And perception is power. Because when you stop trying to prove yourself, people start assuming you have nothing to prove. Niccolò Machiavelli never said, "Be cruel." He said, "Be strategic." And one of his most dangerous insights was this: power doesn't belong to the one who is right. It belongs to the one who controls the frame. When you defend yourself, you abandon the frame. You let someone else define the battlefield, the language, and the meaning of the conflict. Machiavelli warned rulers never to play on enemy ground, because once you step inside another man's frame, you play by his rules. In The Prince, he wrote, "A wise ruler must learn how not to be good, not because goodness is wrong, but because the appearance of virtue often matters more than virtue itself." Power, he said, depends not on truth, but on perception. The strong define perception. The weak try to correct it. That is Machiavelli's hidden principle. The one who explains his innocence looks guilty. The one who defines reality makes guilt irrelevant. Consider this. When a leader is accused of weakness and responds with silence, he shifts the focus from accusation to ambiguity. And ambiguity breeds fear. The most useful ally of power, the Machiavellian man doesn't chase fairness. He manipulates perception. He knows that when others cannot read him, they cannot control him. You see this everywhere. A man who calmly walks away from an argument leaves others haunted by his silence. A man who refuses to prove his loyalty makes people crave his approval. A man who doesn't react becomes a mirror, reflecting others' insecurities back at them. Machiavelli would call this strategic absence. By not giving the enemy a target, you force them to fight shadows, and shadows always win. So the next time you're attacked, remember, defending yourself means they've already set the frame. But silence, composure, and the quiet smile of a man who knows more than he says, that creates the frame. Because in every power struggle, the question isn't who's right. It's who defines what right means. Today, men lose power not through failure, but through reaction. You can see it everywhere, in relationships, offices, and even online. A man's entire image collapses the moment he starts explaining himself. In a relationship, for example, a woman accuses you of being distant. You panic. You explain how busy you've been, how much you care, how misunderstood you feel. You think your words will earn empathy, but they don't. They earn pity. Because in that moment, she feels your emotional dependence. She realizes her perception shapes your behavior. And that kills attraction faster than anything. At work, it's the same. A coworker challenges your decision, and instead of staying calm, you launch into a speech defending your reasoning. What they hear isn't logic, it's insecurity. A man certain of his position never argues from emotion. He lets silence, or a single sentence, communicate more than paragraphs ever could. And online, every man who fights with commenters, or sets the record straight in public debates, only feeds the beast. The algorithm rewards outrage, not truth. The crowd doesn't respect reason, it smells blood. This is the modern power trap. Thinking words will save you when composure would have crowned you. Machiavelli's wisdom was never about politics alone. It's a blueprint for survival in human psychology. He understood that most people don't seek justice, they seek hierarchy. They want to know who's in charge. And the moment you defend yourself, you announce that it's not you. That's why the modern man is weaker than the men of old. Not because he lacks strength, but because he's been taught to explain rather than command. The truth? People don't need your explanations. They need your certainty. The Machiavellian man never fights noise with more noise. He withdraws. He observes. He lets tension build until the other side cracks under their own insecurity. Because power isn't about being right. It's about being unreadable. Silence is not absence. It's presence, concentrated. Most men fear silence because they mistake it for weakness. But Machiavelli saw silence for what it truly is. The language of dominance. When you fall silent, you shift the battlefield from words to energy. You remove your opponent's ability to read you, and people fear what they cannot read. That's why powerful men throughout history have used silence as a psychological weapon. It forces others to question themselves while you remain untouched. Think of it like this. When someone insults you and you respond with calm, wordless composure, you transfer the discomfort back to them. They start filling the silence with nervous energy, trying to interpret your stillness. Is he angry? Does he not care? Did I cross a line? Their mind turns against itself, and you win without a word. Machiavelli hinted at this in The Prince, that perception rules reality, and nothing shapes perception more than the tension of unspoken words. When a man remains quiet, others project meaning onto him. They invent power where they cannot measure it. This is why the most feared people rarely raise their voices. The mafia don who speaks softly. The CEO who pauses before answering. The man in the room who listens longer than anyone else. They all understand the same law. Silence magnifies authority. But make no mistake, controlled silence is not indifference. It's active restraint. It's knowing when to speak, and when speaking would only feed someone else's control. Every second you withhold a reaction, you increase your perceived value. In relationships, silence makes others confront their own emotions. In conflicts, it exposes who's truly dependent on the outcome. And in life, it gives you the one advantage that can't be bought, mystery, because mystery isn't about hiding. It's about being impossible to categorize. The world worships what it can't fully understand. So practice silence not as avoidance, but as command. Let others wonder what you think, how you feel, and what you'll do next. Let them chase your approval, fill your pauses, and fear your calm. Machiavelli's trick was simple. He understood that noise reveals weakness, and silence, when deliberate, creates fear, respect, and intrigue all at once. So the next time someone demands a reaction, remember, your silence is not emptiness. It's gravity. And gravity always pulls things in its direction. Every manipulator, every critic, every emotionally intelligent person who wants control plays the same game. They try to make you react, because the moment you react, you hand them your power. Machiavelli understood that emotion is the soft underbelly of the human mind. In The Prince, he wrote that men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that whoever controls their emotions controls their actions. Modern psychology agrees. When you react emotionally, your brain shifts from logic to defense, and defense means you're no longer leading the frame. Think about the last time someone pushed your buttons. A partner mocking your effort, a boss questioning your competence, a stranger online throwing insults. The instant you flared up, they won. You entered their emotional field, played by their rhythm. Most men confuse emotional expression with authenticity. But in power dynamics, emotion is never neutral. It's a signal. When you show anger, you reveal that you're affected. When you show frustration, you reveal that they've landed a hit. That's why Machiavelli's disciples, from politicians to modern leaders, practice emotional neutrality. They don't suppress emotion. They direct it. They understand that calmness in chaos doesn't mean absence of feeling. It means mastery of it. The emotionally reactive man is predictable. He can be baited, provoked, and controlled with ease. But the emotionally still man, he's terrifying, because no one knows where his mind is or what he'll do next. That uncertainty is power. So when provoked, pause. Observe the person trying to provoke you. Don't defend. Don't explain. Watch. The silence that follows will make them unravel faster than any argument ever could. Machiavelli would tell you this: a man who controls his emotions controls the entire room. Because while everyone else burns energy trying to expose him, he's quietly studying their weaknesses. Emotion is fuel, but only when you decide when to ignite it. Because the truth is, your reactivity doesn't show passion, it shows ownership. And the more others can own your reactions, the less of yourself you truly command. Power isn't built in noise, it's forged in restraint. Once you understand that defending yourself and reacting emotionally are traps, you can begin walking the path Machiavelli laid out, the path of controlled dominance. It's not about appearing emotionless. It's about owning your energy so fully that no one can redirect it. So how do you do that? Machiavelli's wisdom translates into 4 living principles, a code every modern man should internalize. 1. Detach from the outcome. You owe no one understanding. The moment you crave validation, you become its prisoner. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It means self-certainty. The man who doesn't need to be believed or approved of is untouchable. When accused, judged, or doubted, smile. Let their confusion grow. Your silence will do the speaking. Too. Master the pause. Before you respond, pause, even for 3 seconds. Time is power. That tiny delay forces others to fill the space, exposing their insecurity. The pause tells them, you can't rush me. You don't control my rhythm. Every powerful man, from ancient rulers to modern negotiators, weaponizes silence through timing. The longer you hold your pause, the heavier your words will fall when you finally speak. 3. Answer with questions, not defenses. When someone attacks your motives, never defend, redirect. Ask, why do you think that? Or, what makes you say that? Suddenly, they're on the defensive. You've flipped the frame. Machiavelli called this reversal of inquiry, forcing your opponent to reveal their intent while you remain composed. Every question you ask takes their fire and turns it into fuel for your control. Point 4. Observe, don't react. Every argument is a test. Most men rush to prove they're right. Few realize the test is about composure. The one who stays emotionally centered wins by default. Observe tone, posture, and patterns. Notice how people expose their vulnerabilities when they think you're losing yours. The man who watches quietly collects leverage, and leverage is the true currency of power. When you combine these 4 principles, something shifts. People stop challenging you as much. They second guess before disrespecting you. Even your presence begins to feel heavier. Not because you changed your tone, but because you changed your energy field. Machiavelli's greatest students weren't soldiers, they were strategists. They mastered their reactions, and by mastering reactions, they mastered perception. So walk the path of restraint. Say less. React slower. Observe more. You'll find that the less you fight for control, the more control you naturally command. Because in the end, true power isn't in proving yourself. It's in making others prove themselves to you. You began this video believing that defending yourself protects your image. Now you know, it destroys it. Machiavelli's timeless trick wasn't about deceit. It was about control. Control of perception, of emotion, of the invisible tension between you and the world. He understood that the man who explains himself too quickly loses mystery. And once mystery is gone, respect soon follows. From now on, remember this. Every defense lowers your value. Every pause raises it. When you stop reacting, people start recalibrating around you. They feel your gravity. They sense a presence that doesn't chase, doesn't justify, doesn't kneel. That's what true dominance feels like. Not loud, not aggressive, just certain. Most men will never master this. They'll keep talking, proving, defending, never realizing that their noise keeps them small. But if you can train yourself to embrace silence, to delay reaction, to let others feel the discomfort you once carried, you will separate yourself from 99% of men. Your challenge: for the next 7 days, refuse to defend yourself. No explanations, no emotional reactions, just stillness. Watch how the world bends toward your call, because power doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being unreachable. And once you learn to master silence, you won't just flip the power, you'll become it.